Okay, so I've got the pin out for Atari Crash and Score right in front of me. So I'm going to build a test adapter, test fixture harness, test harness, that will basically power this up and show video. I won't be able to do the controls at this time because I don't have the ability to send the necessary pulse, direction, and clock signals for the steering wheel. So yeah, I'm gonna have to think about how I'm gonna do that in the future, but that's okay because I'm trying to repair this thing, get it running, and this little bit of having just video, power, and audio that will get me pretty far. All right, so this is gonna take a 44 pin connector, edge connector. I got it. I gotta find a new harness, which is a DB25 connector to plug into my tester, and then I can start building this thing up. Okay, I'm back on the Crash and Score Atari PCB, and I've created a basic harness. All that this harness is going to supply is 5 ground and 12 volts. That's it. The 5 volts is going to be driving the logic. The 12 volts normally would be trying to supply power for this 5 volt regulator, but because I'm missing the power resistor, this isn't going to do much. And also, the 12 volts is going to be supplying power to this regulator here. This is a 15 volt regulator. Now, it's not going to be enough to fully power it, but I hooked it up anyway. I don't know. Maybe some voltage will get through on that. I don't know, but I doubt if it's going to be enough. I think this is for the amplifier, for the audio. So let me start this up and see what we get. Let me plug it in. Okay, I've got this thing plugged in. I've got some LEDs going on. I've got nothing going on in the video here. All the LEDs are lit up. And this capacitor feels like it's getting warm. So it's probably going to be bad. Well, definitely going to be bad. This one's ice. This one's cold as an ice cube. This one's warming up. Yeah. So this capacitor is going to be bad. And if I leave it on there for too long, it could explode. So let me shut this down. I'm going to disconnect this so I don't have to worry about that, and then I'll get back to probing around and seeing what I can figure out. Okay, I've lifted one of the terminals up, so this is going to be safe now. And I noticed on my voltmeter here that it raised, by disconnecting that, it went up 0.3, 0.4 volts, something like that. So let me check the voltage on the board. Also, the LEDs are brighter. You see that? The LEDs are brighter. So yeah, that big capacitor is no bueno, and it's loading down the voltage. Let's see what I'm reading on the board here. Try to do this with one hand. That ought to be interesting. Okay, I'm reading exactly 5 volts. I'm reading exactly 5 volts. So let me shut off the video for now, and I'll be back. All right, so I'm probing around, trying to confirm the voltages on this board. 5 volts looks good ever since I disconnected this capacitor. 12 volts, though, is only showing 9 volts coming off my power supply. It's supposed to be giving me 12 volts, and I'm seeing 9 volts at the power supply. It's about 7 volts at the board. And the reason that is this 5 volt regulator is getting really warm. So that sucker's drawing all the current. I'm going to have to add a switch to turn power off to that, or basically just disconnect it at this point. Don't know if that means it's bad or not. I did not expect that to warm up, though. I will tell you that, because without the resistor, it's not supposed to function. So maybe that's bad. Not 100% sure on that. So let me either disconnect or add a switch for this power supply for that guy, and then I'm gonna look at the voltages again. So I've removed that capacitor. It's bad. You can put an ohm meter to it, and it measures about 1 mega ohm, which with 5 volts doesn't sound like a lot, but it will cause it to heat up, and basically it's loading down the circuit. So that's all cleaned up. There was some rubber stuff there. I got most of it up. Good enough. Now I'm seeing 14 and 15 volts on this. So I think we're seeing 15 volts. With my power supply, it runs a little high on a low load. So 15 volts is input, 14 volts is coming out of this thing, which should be fine for the audio. Hopefully, I mean, I expect it to dip down if the audio is going on, but hopefully whatever, it should drop down to maybe 12 volts, and that should be enough for the audio. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, don't know. All right, so we've got nothing on the screen. So first step on this is to check the clocks. Make sure I've got a clock signal. That clock line there, line of circuits, line of counters. And go from there. So let me start poking around, see if I can figure out why this isn't giving me any video at all. Okay, I didn't get very far with this without finding a problem. So here's your main preliminary oscillator here before it gets broken down into lower frequencies. Got no activity here at all. This is completely dead. This signal's dead. Nothing going on in here either. And in fact, the signals between 12 and 13 are both high. So either the inverter is bad, which is what I'm leaning towards, or the crystal is bad. I will ohm out these resistors and make sure they're correct. I'm sure they are. That capacitor is in there too. I haven't checked any of those values. Let me check those and let me see what I figure out. Okay, so this oscillator circuit had a couple of problems. Found that the capacitor had a broke leg, and that would be this capacitor here. And then one of these two resistors, can't remember which one it was physically broken in half. And so I had to replace both of those. But now we've got oscillation. We've got the clock signal. It's weak, but it's probably because my scope didn't have a high bandwidth. It's probably fine, but my scope can't display it well. So this clock is working. This clock is working. This clock appears to not be working. So the next thing I'll be doing is replacing that and see if I can get the signal to go on through and generate the other signals, these two horizontal clock signals and this horizontal reset signal. Once I get this running, then I can move towards the vertical clocks. This is the horizontal clock chain here. Okay, so that chip was at B2 right here. I've installed another one that I had laying around. It's a used one from previous board I repaired and removed and replaced it unnecessarily. This one was good. And now we're starting to get something on the screen. I don't know where the sink is yet. Let me take my sink here and tie it to the output and see if it's strong enough to sync with that. 3 is on pin 6 of this one. Yeah, it's strong enough. Okay, so I can actually just hook that pin up to that video output. Right now I've got it on a clippy. All right, let me see if I can clean that up a little bit. Let's see, let's try vertical hold. Okay, well, we've got a picture. I guess that's either score or timer. Those are things that you're going to be picking up, so the graphics prompts may be good. I mean, those look like numbers. Number 2, 5, 2, 5, 3, 4, 1. Things are looking promising. I don't know what these little things are. Okay, progress. Let me play around with this and I'll be back. So I've connected a couple of switches for the coin 1 and coin 2. If I understand correctly, one of the switches operates only one car, and then, well, what am I saying? Each of these switches applies to only one car. So I think there's two different colors, like there's a white car and a darker car. And so you'll credit whichever car is going to be in the game, and then you'll push the respective start button. So I've wired up the coin switches, and I've wired up the start buttons to go to my control panel here. And so I can credit them, and I can push start, and that clears the score on the white car. I guess this is the white car. I'm not seeing a score over here. I saw a score earlier for the other car, and it was a darker color, but it's not doing anything at the moment. I have nothing else wired. I have no steering, and I have no throttle acceleration, no shift gear. So steering is going to be a challenge because this is going to need like a trackball board. And I had intended to use Atari 2600 driver controllers, but those don't work quite right. It may be possible to make an adapter to make it work with this and similar games. I'm going to investigate that, but right now I don't have a solution. So also I haven't hooked up the audio yet. So let me do that next. I think it's time to hook up audio. There's two different channels on this, one for each car. So I'm going to need to, and I've only got one speaker. So just the one speaker. I'm going to hook up both of the audios to one switch that I can select between the two audios. So I'm going to use a switch like this. So it's got two different paths, right? The common is in the middle, so I'll attach the output to the middle and the inputs to each of the side ones, and that will allow me to select which audio I'm listening to. So let me get that done. Maybe we can hear some audio. Okay, so I've got audio hooked up now, and I can select between car 1 and car 2 through this switch here. I think it's on car 2. Anyway, I've got this on pin U right now, which is the gas pedal for, let's see. Pin U is the gas pedal for player 1. All right. So if I ground that to ground, that should make the gas go, or make the car move. But you can see here we've got a graphics problem. That's one of the cars there. I think that's player 2 car because it matches the score. See that score there? That's player 1 or left player, whatever. Player 1, player 2. This car color matches that. The white car is not displaying at all. So something's wrong there. And the player 2 car is just all the way across the screen. So that's wrong. But the audio, if I credit this thing up and I push 2-player, you can hear the audio. So the motors are idling. And I'm grounding player 1. You can hear the motor revving up. I take the gas off, the motor revs down. But I'm not seeing a player 1 car anywhere. So let me change this to player 2. The dark color one. Let's see what happens if I ground it. Oh, I got to flip the audio. Okay, so now we're on player 2 audio. There it goes. I'm not seeing anything but that line going all the way across for the car. That you can vaguely tell that that's supposed to be a car, but it's just wrong. I don't know if it's a logic problem at this point. I think this is a logic problem. I think the data is there, the graphics data is there, but I don't know about player 2. I think the proms for this, I think the car images are on these 2 proms. There's also 2 other proms though, smaller ones, but I think the graphics data is on these 2. These are the same part number, I believe. And so if I wanted to socket these, I could swap them. One is going to be one car, one's going to be the other if I understand the schematics correctly. But anyway, so what the whole point of all this is, the board's trying to do something. It's recognizing the gas pedal for both players. I've got graphics. There is a problem with the car graphics, apparently, but these other graphics look okay. Now, these barriers, I think those may be selectable through dip switches or something. These are barriers, these bright white things. And the flags are the things you're supposed to go crash into, but only if it's bright and flashing. If it's dark, then you're not supposed to run into it, I think. So we're getting there. This board is coming together. Got to figure out why that car player is going all the way across. So that's going to be a logic problem, pretty sure. So let me see if I can focus on that and see if I can get somewhere with it. So here's the circuitry for the cars on the schematics. This is car 1. And you'll see that it's got some counters, and ultimately it has a prom here, and the part number is 5186, and that's where the graphics are for the car. So as this thing counts, it goes through the address lines on this prom and dumps it. It allows it to dump through the screen. Same thing for car 2. It's an identical circuit. But different because the cars have to be different. But it requires the same prom. You can see the part number is 0. Well, I don't know if you can read it or not, but yeah, come here. So the part number is the same. It's 0, let's see, 3186. 003186. This one was 00. That says 5186. I'm sorry, that was 05186, but I think that's a misprint. I think that's supposed to be a 3, or maybe it is a 3 and I just can't read it. Now, if you look at these proms, it's got 3186 and 3186. So these are identical, which makes sense because the car data is going to be identical. It's just going to be a different color. So anyway, I probed around in these circuits, and the first counter's counting, and it's trying to get the second one to count, and it's not. And that's true for both cars. So I'm going to replace both of those counters and see if I can get it to propagate to the third counter. When I look at the car number 1 chips involved, let's see, it was row 5. So this is the one I'm thinking is bad. See how it's just discolored? How the print on it has been burnt, and that one has some too, so it may be bad too. But that's an indication to me that chip is bad. And so I'm gonna let me just start by replacing that and see if I can get car 1 to display on the screen. Let me do that, and I'll be back. All right, so I installed a new counter here. I didn't have any more 9316, so I put the 74161 in there, equivalent. And check it out. There's the white car now, and it looks good. So now I'm going to make the same repair for the player 2, the dark car, and let's see if we can't get him working too. So I replaced that middle counter for car number 2, and it's still not working, but you can tell this garbage here that's going across is different now. All right, so I probed around. Now that we've got a signal here, it's feeding to this counter, and this counter is not responding, so I'm thinking it's bad too. I'm going to replace it next, and let's see if that doesn't get the car working. Alrighty, that counter has been replaced. There's the old one. Again, this is a 9316, and I put a 74161 in there. So let's coin it up, see if we get the black car. 2-player. Black car's there. So that fixed it. That fixed the black car graphics problem. I'm gonna give it some gas. It's moving. Since I can't steer it, I just have to let it go randomly here. All the audio seems correct. You've got skidding, you got bumping, you've got the motor noises. Now it's only ever in first gear. Yeah, this is looking like it might be working. The only thing I really can't test at this point are the controls, the shifting of the gears, and the steering. That will be a future project to figure out how I can test that stuff. I want to do that, like I said, with an Atari 2600 driver controller. Those have a 4-bit output, and what I really need is a clock and direction signal. So I'd have to be able to make a circuit that converts the 4-bit data into those 2 signals for this board. Now, the dark colors, the white looks good, but the dark colors look a little subdued. I'm going to look at that and see if there's a way to brighten that up. Maybe there's a bad component, a bad capacitor or resistor or something. So that will be the last thing I do on this until I get the controllers figured out. But this board is starting to look like it might be 100%. All right, well, let me, this may be it. I might return with this brighter. These dark colors look like they're not bright enough. Okay, so here's the schematic for the video outputs. They're using a 220 ohm resistor for the bright white, and they're using a 1.5k ohm for the dark. So I'm thinking maybe change this to something like a 700 ohm. That should double the brightness. So let me try that and see how that goes. And I will be back with the results. Okay, so I lifted the old resistor out so I wouldn't lose it, just lifted one leg, and I soldered a 670 ohm across to give me the new value. And I think it's much more readable, and you can still tell it's the dark color, so I think that's the way to go on this. Let's start the game. So there's the car. Now I did turn the brightness down a little bit to get the black level better. Let me turn it back up to about where it was. That's about where it was. So black cars there. I think it's much more easy to see than before, so I think that's a good change. And you can still tell the white color versus the dark color. You can still tell the difference. In fact, one could argue you could go even a little bit brighter than that. Let me try to short that 1.5K resistor across. So that's with the 1.5K added in. You can see the difference. That might actually even be better. So whatever, 1.5K in parallel with 670 ohms. You know, it's a subtle difference. I guess maybe about a 500 ohm would make sense. But yeah, I mean, this works for me. I'll just leave it at 670. It works. So that's it for this video for now. I may return to this when I get a way to control the cars. I'm going to need a shifter and an acceleration button and a steering, a way to generate the clock and direction for the steering. But everything's working. We've got audio. We got all the graphics look correct. We've got the scores. Now, I haven't actually scored any points. Maybe I should try that. Now that the scores are flashing, that means the game's almost over. I'll start another game after this. Okay. Let me start another game and see if I can get a score just to test the scoring. All sound perfect to me. Oh, almost hit it. You have to hit the flashing flag. Everything else is just a barrier. Oh, some weirdness at the bottom of the screen when the car passed through the bottom. Get it! Yes! Alright, so it scored 6 points. Awesome. Let me change over to the white player, see if it's going to score now. I need to turn the volume up on him. Where's the volume at? They've got different controls. There's separate volume controls and separate motor controls. There he is. Okay. Nope. I've turned it down. Oh. I've got the wrong... I have to select the sound for that player. That was my bad. Alright. Get it, get it! Ugh. Alright, let me try that again now that I'm set up and ready to go. 2-player. I'm going to need to watch a video on this to see if the weirdness at the bottom of the screen when the car passes through is normal. It might be normal. See how it kind of does a weird thing? I think the player 2 sounds a little bit better when it runs into stuff. Get it! Ugh. Alright. That ain't gonna work. Have to play again. Anyway, I'll test it. I'm pretty sure the scoring is going to work, but to be for sure, I got to test it. All right, so I got weirdness at the bottom of the screen when the car passes through from top to bottom or bottom to top. It makes some weird graphic glitch. I got to see if that's normal for the game. It may be. And I've got to solder in the 680 ohm to give me this slightly brighter, darker color. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.